Hello and welcome back to my channel. You might have noticed we've had a change of colour in this room since my last video. This practice is going to be nice and cosy. This is all about being really soft and gentle with yourself. So if you've had a long busy day, if your brain is feeling a bit frazzled, if you just need a bit of help winding down ready for bed, then this is going to be a practice where the intention is to move slowly and mindfully, to breathe deeply, and to calm and soothe the nervous system so we can relax, so we can rest, so we can unwind. So get your comfy clothes on, grab socks, jumpers, all the nice warm cozy clothes, grab a blanket, the fluffiest blanket you own, and one or two cushions, just sort of sofa cushions will do the job, or a yoga bolster if you have one, and we'll begin. So move the cushions aside for now. We're going to start with the blanket. Now I want you to fold your blanket a couple of times and just bring it across the centre of your mat. I'm going to leave it there most of the practice. And then come through to sit on your knees. So we're coming into a nice soft child's pose to begin. So have your big toes together, take your knees out nice and wide, and then take your time to ease into this pose. So don't rush straight there, even if it's a pose you know and you practice regularly. Come into it as if it were a new posture for you today. So sit right back to your heels as far as you can, feel your ankles stretching out, and then gradually walk your hands forwards as far as you can, and bring your forehead down to rest, or you can turn your head and just rest your head onto your blanket if it's there. You can have a little bit of movement as much as you need to stretch out, to get settled there, and then come to a place where you can pause and connect with your breath. Maybe closing your eyes, beginning to soften your forehead, to release your jaw, and just allowing your breath to slow down. Letting go of the day that you've had so far and tuning into the present moment. Feel your breath coming into your body. Feel your breath moving out. And just lift your head slightly, looking forwards, and walk your hands over to the left. So you can take them all the way off your mat, but try and keep your hips reaching back to your heels, and then let your head drop down between your arms. So you might feel this along the right side of your body, a stretch along the right shoulder, all the way down into the lower back on the right side. Take another really deep, full breath here. And then lifting your head, walk your hands through the centre and take them over to the right. And same thing, reach away with the fingertips, reach your hips back to your heels, and let your head drop between your arms. Feeling the left side of the body now stretching. One more deep breath. And then lifting your head, walk your hands back through to the centre and bring yourself up to tabletop position. So bring your knees under your hips with a bit of space between them. Bring your hands under your shoulders, just spreading out your fingers. And take a breath in, lifting your head and looking forwards, arching your back. And exhale as your back rounds, as you tuck your chin to your chest. Keep that going, breathing in as your head lifts as you look forwards. And breathing out as you round your back. Moving slowly through cat and cow. Keep going at a pace that matches your breath. Let it be slow. We spend so much of our time moving quickly, rushing from one job to the next. Our yoga practice is an opportunity to slow down and actually just to practice being a bit slower, more mindful in each movement. So you might feel in cat and cow, for example, a bit of an urge to rush through it, or even just to rush on to the next pose or the next move. So I want you to try really hard in this practice today to just feel into each little moment, each little section of the movement between these two poses, and let it be as slow as your body wants it to be. So rather than just thinking about, right, I'm going into cat pose and then going into cow pose, slow it down even more. Feel where in your body you feel a stretch. And then as you move through rounding the back, feel where you feel it most. Take your attention into your body. Tune in. Okay, that's enough from me. Rambling on there. So bring the knees together now, bring the feet a bit closer and just tuck under your toes as much as you can. Walk your hands back and sit back, stretching out your toes, stretching out your feet. This can feel quite intense, so especially if you have any issues with your toes, feet or ankles at the moment, then just ease out of it a bit like this by sitting up. But if it feels safe to sit all the way back, you can sit all the way back. And let's bring the hands behind the back as well. Interlace your fingers, squeeze your shoulder blades back and together and reach down with your knuckles. Staying here for another 2 or 3 breaths. And then release your hands. Come back to tabletop. Release your toes and give them a little wiggle around. Always feels nice to come out of that toe stretch. And then take your ankles around in big circles in one direction a few times and then reversing it and going the opposite way. Lovely. Cool. Then coming back to tabletop, so bring the knees back to hip distance apart. Spread out through your fingers. Reach back with just your right foot. Tuck your toes and press your heel back. Just take a little movement, rocking forwards and backwards on your toes, stretching out through your calf, keeping a little bit of effort and energy through the upper body as you press your yoga mat away and engage through your arms. And then coming to stillness, lean into your right hand and take your left arm up into a twist. So turn as much of your chest to the left as you can. Reach up through your fingertips and press back through your right heel. Take another breath in and then exhale to bring your hand back down to the mat. Now step back into plank from there just for a breath in. Exhale as you lower your right knee down, so we've switched sides with the legs. So we're tucking the left toes now, and just gently rocking forwards and backwards. And coming to stillness, lean into your left hand and take your right arm up into that same twist. Lift and reach through your fingertips, press back through your left heel. Take a breath in and then exhale to release your hand down. And stepping back into plank just for a breath in. As you exhale, lower your knees first and then bend your elbows and lower all the way down to the ground. Point your toes and lift into cobra. Inhale, lifting the chest. Exhale, lowering. Then bring your forearms to the ground for Sphinx pose. So elbows are under the shoulders, palms facing down. We have the forearms roughly parallel to each other. We push down through the forearms and lift through the chest. If it feels a bit pinchy in your lower back, you could just take your legs a little bit wider on your mat. So lift up through your chest, engage through your forearms, through your shoulders by pressing down through your forearms. And just to bring a little movement into the neck, keep lifting tall through your chest and turn your head all the way to the right. So imagine drawing a line with your nose across and almost past your right shoulder. When you get to your end range of motion there, just pause there, breathe, push through your elbows even more, keep lifting tall. And then bring your head through the center, drawing a line with your nose across and over your left shoulder. Again, pause at your end range of motion, push through your forearms, lift through your chest. One more breath here. And then coming back through to center, looking forwards. If your back's had enough here, then take your elbows wide and come down and rest. Bring your head to rest on your hands. If you're still feeling pretty comfy in Sphinx pose, you could try coming up into seal pose for a couple of breaths. So that's taking the hands a little bit wider, pressing through your palms, lifting and straightening out through your arms. Keep your legs engaged here as well, so still pointing through the toes. It's going to keep the glutes engaged. Lift through your chest. Try not to sink down in the shoulders like this. Lift up. One more breath here. And then slowly releasing down. Take your elbows wide. Bring your head down to rest on your hands. And let your legs relax as well. Another deep breath. And then bring your hands under your shoulders and lift back onto your hands and your knees. So bringing the knees back under the hips. We're going to come into puppy pose or heart to earth pose. So it's similar kind of shape to child's pose, but instead of sitting the hips back like this, we're going to keep the hips over the knees. So we walk the hands forwards, keep the arms straight, keep the hands kind of actively pressing into the mat. Go as far as you can with the hands, and then just let your chest melt down towards the ground, just as much as you can. Just pausing there, just 2 or 3 breaths in this pose. You might feel this around your shoulders, around your chest, around your back. Final breath here. And then as you lift back up, walk your hands back in, coming back through to tabletop position. And from there, we're going to come around to sit. So come to sit on your blanket now. And grab your cushion or cushions if you've got 2. And then bring them just under the knees, just like this. So if you have a yoga bolster, you could use that across your mat, under your knees. Come up to sit nice and tall. And we're going to come into a seated forward fold. It's kind of a cross between an active hatha forward fold and a soft yin forward fold. So we're going to lift up through the toes and flex the feet slightly. But with the cushions here, it makes it a little bit more yin-like. We're going to take the arms up overhead, take a big breath in. As you exhale, reach forwards. Keep the flex through your feet and take your hands either to your feet if they reach, or maybe to your ankles or lower legs. And then let your back round slightly, let your chin drop down, and just use your hands to draw you closer to your legs. So not straining, not forcing anything here, but just using your hands to kind of pull you in a little bit closer. Deepen your breath. You'll find that the more cushioning you have under the knees, the more of a bend in your knees you have, the more you're going to feel this in your back rather than your hamstrings. So when the legs are straight in this seated forward fold, it tends to be more of a leg hamstring stretch. And when the knees are bent like this, it's a little bit nicer and softer on the legs, and it allows us to take the emphasis of the stretch into the back instead. So let your head really go now. Just a couple of final breaths here. And then let go with your hands and just roll back up to sit. Okay. We're going to keep the cushions under the knees. We're just going to come off the blanket so we can use it as a blanket as we come down to our backs. So bring your legs back onto the cushions, lay back. Have your blanket within reach, but just for now, bring your knees into your chest. Have a little rock side to side, get your back comfy on the ground. And bring one hand onto each knee. And just very gently take both knees round in big circles. Just slow it down, big slow circles. Feeling maybe almost like a massage against your lower back. And then reverse the direction, take the circles around the other way. Now hug both knees in really closely towards your chest. Lift your head, squeeze your nose towards your knees, really actively curl into a ball. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, let everything go. Let your head come down to the mat. Stretch out your legs and rest them onto your cushions. And then grab your blanket, cover yourself over as we come into Savasana, a resting pose. So take the time to cover yourself with your blanket, to shuffle around, to find a comfy position. Then rest your arms down by your sides with your palms facing up. Soften the skin across your forehead. Let go of any tension around your eyes. Separate your top and bottom rows of teeth and let your tongue drop down away from the roof of your mouth. Feel a heaviness through your shoulders as they rest against your mat. A heaviness through your arms and your legs as they rest too, with no effort through the muscles. Let your breath flow freely in and out as we take a couple of minutes to rest in stillness. If your mind wanders, if you feel distracted, practice returning your focus to your breath, redirecting your attention to the feeling of breathing in and the feeling of breathing out. Keeping your body relaxed, just take a deep breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. And take a little wiggle of your fingers and your toes. When you feel ready, stretch out and start to wake your body up. And as part of the practice of svadhyaya, which means self-study, take a moment to check in with yourself and notice how you feel now. Notice if there are any obvious changes in yourself between how you felt at the start of the practice and how you feel now. And I'll leave you there to rest for as long as you like. Thank you for joining me for this cozy, restful practice. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.